We're all misfits.
All right, you ragtag bunch of misfits.
You're a scrappy little misfit, just like me.
Biggest bunch of misfits I ever set eyes on.
Good morning, Misfits. You were tuning into another episode of the Misfit Podcast. Full goon squad in the house.
What's up?
Yo. On today's episode, we are checking in on the Misfit community. We've got some really good questions from Discord. And then if we have time, just like last week when we didn't have time, we're going to spend some time on percentage work, how to get the most out of percentage work. But there's actually some really good questions in here. We're going to be able to dive into some stuff that I think is more and more important as the year goes on. But before we get to that, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Sharpen the Axe. You can head to sharpentheaxeco.com, use your favorite athlete code to save some money, and they get some money. And there's actually shit in the store now. Brand new stuff. There's hoodies. There's crew necks, there's t-shirts, there's socks, there's sweatbands, there's hats, there's belts, there's shorts. We got all kinds of stuff in the store, sharpentheaxeco.com. I will warn you, especially the podcast listeners. Now, technically, this release has already happened. So if you missed it, I'm very sorry.
Sucks to suck.
We've got one coming up in March, another batch of really cool stuff. But we have gone back to our old school method of small batch, get it in, get it out. So you're going to want to be ready for these releases. And we try to think of cool ways to let you guys know, maybe a little bit early in Discord or something like that. But I'd pay close attention to that. You can also head to properfuel.co, use the code word Misfit, teammisfit.com for your affiliate programming needs, misfitathletics.com for your individual programming needs. Before we get into the questions, as always, we have live chat. Who's up, gents?
Bro, have you fucked around with this new iOS update? No. This fucking put your shit on the left-hand side of your screen versus down in the bottom toolbar thing yet. Has anybody else experienced that yet?
iOS or Mac
OS? OS, sorry. OS, sorry, Ted, I didn't mean to insult you.
No.
What are you
fucking with me? Because, like, if you look at my screen right now, instead of if I downsize this browser and be in the bottom toolbar, it's now just randomly hidden on the left-hand side. But if I switch between, like, applications right now.
You've been able to do that forever, right? I used to put that bitch on the top. Thought it was so cool. But the rest
of the toolbar is on
annoying.
the bottom. The rest of the toolbar is on the bottom. It's just the windows you were working with. It's pretty wild.
It's like a mission control type of thing, right? Like it shows you the windows so you can quick switch between them.
I'm too old for this shit. I'm getting lost in my own goddamn computer. I can't handle it. Brooks was here. I'm fucking carving my name into the rafters.
I love the direct correlation between how technically savvy someone is and how pissed off they get when something changes. My wife is not like, and she doesn't want to be. She doesn't give a fuck. But if you change something on her phone or an app, she's like, "It's stupid. This is stupid. This is dumb." I'm like, I got nothing to say to you. I'll talk to you about. I'll talk about shit about you on the podcast because you don't listen.
Come on, Maya. Give us a listen.
She's definitely listening right now.
Give us a listen, Maya.
Paige gave me her game sign, which I think you guys tell me, like up here, or you guys can't see. You guys can't see either.
You're pointing at the top of the frame right now.
Yeah, right. But that's the top of our frame. That's not the top of the frame that gets shown on YouTube. Correct.
That's the top of the frame. The
whole frame. So we are four wide. On YouTube,
we're like a grid of 4, 2 on top, 2 on bottom. If your window is small enough, you'll see us side by each. But if you expand your window a little bit,
I feel like I saw a view on YouTube of me in a little bit more of like a landscape. This is a little bit more.
You're full frame right now.
I don't know.
We switch podcast platforms every 2 weeks, so it might have been a different.
Hunter.
You see what I'm saying?
Hunter.
Technically savvy.
Is that why our last like 10 or 15 episodes are on this one?
Yeah, fuck you, Ted.
We tried to change one time and it didn't go well, and Hunter won't forget until 2027.
Never forget.
He'll remember then too.
That's early.
He'll still remember then. Yeah, he'll still know.
All right, Sherb's live chat is.
No, that's not really it. Really, live chat right now is managing the chaos that is 2 small children, one of which who's trying to assert his dominance now and just literally tortures his brother. He sees him standing up.
No.
He's like a NHL hockey player checking someone into the boards. He just fucking runs in, throws his torso into his side, and his little brother goes flying into the air. His head bounces off the ground like a basketball. And then we're like, come on, man, don't do that. And then he just sees him playing his toy, and he just fucking winds up. And I'm like, God damn it. And like, he's not hurting the kid, and he's trying to express himself. I was like, dude, cut the shit. And then he's like, I won't. And then 1 second later, he's just fucking doing it again. And like, I think it's hilarious because I know he's not hurting him.
I won't.
But it's also like, how do I discipline that when I'm laughing? How do you discipline someone when you think it's funny?
Boys will be boys, bro. Boys will be boys.
Yeah, dude. You know, he'll also get to the point where like he'll be crawling on the floor, and Zion will just like full on run, jump, belly flop on him, and then like roll on him like a dog rolling in like a dead animal. That's like how he treats his little brother.
Nice. So
we're policing that's fun. But he's also found out that when he wears jammies with a hardwood floor, he can drag his brother around the house. So he likes to do that now too. So he's just got him by his ankles. He's just pulling around the house.
Get in one of those like
amazing.
microfiber scrubby shirts, and you'll clean the floors while he drags them around.
Oh, I definitely don't clean those floors.
Child
Soon he'll be
Swiffer?
strong enough to drag
That's
him
a
around
Chappelle Show
with or
skit.
without pajamas. He'll
Well,
just be
What's fucked up though is his brother
skidding
eats
him
like
across the
3x
floor.
what he does. So it's just a matter of time before he's pushing his brother down the stairs. Like it's gonna get ruthless. In my house is gonna have a lot of holes in it. Just put it that way. They're just gonna throw each other through walls. It's gonna be terrifying.
That's exciting.
It is.
I got my revenge. It took me
I got my revenge.
like 16 or 17 years. And I was so mad too because when I finally felt like I could kick his ass, he was like, you need to stop. You're acting like a psycho. You're freaking me out. And I was like, oh, so I can get beat up for fucking 15 years and now I'm ready to fucking rumble and you don't like it. I did tackle him all the way through a wall though. And we did the thing where we were like really, really fighting. And then the second he went through the wall, we were both like, wasn't me. No, my parents weren't even there.
Fucking dogs did it.
I didn't do that. You did. Technically, you were in the wall. I never entered the wall. It's not my fault. You
That's your
entered the
body
wall.
part, not mine.
You broke
Yeah,
the wall.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't touch the wall. You know what I'm saying?
Fuck. That's
Oh.
amazing.
Sure, your
Good
nips
stuff.
are looking spicy today, bro. Got nips out, eh?
I was just skinning them with the barbell via DT. They're extra turgid right now.
You think she's going to
DT
get a
this
cease
morning?
and desist from Hiller?
Yeah, right.
We need better lighting in this goddamn room. I'm embarrassed. You need to stand back like you.
should just get 2 spotlights on your
Look
like
even
on your
smaller.
keyboard pointed up at your nips.
Hold on.
No, we don't need that.
Oh, speaking of life
Yeah,
chat,
monster
happy birthday, Ted.
Cheers.
49 years old. So
Yeah, I was
happy.
going to say, boys, how fucking old is this guy? Jesus. Ted is so
Fucking you
old.
old bitch.
38
Oh
going
my
on
God.
60. My body knows it. My body fucking knows it. Well, thank you. I had
What'd
a
you celebrate with?
I had a very unceremonious day of doing nothing. Jen, my wife, was like, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I was like, "Fuck all. I want to sit on the couch and enjoy doing not a goddamn thing." So that's what I did.
I got a question. How was the Jaeger?
bro.
What?
So
Jen
Skip
told
came
me
over.
Skip came over.
Skip came over to watch fights, and I made some beef stew, and he was like, "Do you need me to grab anything on the way over?" I was like, "Yeah, some Millers or whatever." And he's like, "What am I getting for shots?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing. Don't get anything." And he came with a bottle of Jaeger, so we did Jaeger shots. Yeah, it was nice. I could feel the hangover like halfway through the night. I could feel it
Through the
start.
sip.
And Skip's advice was, "Well, you got to keep drinking." So
Yeah, if you
support that
start to
decision.
get, if your core temperature raises like 10 degrees within 30 seconds, you know you're going to have a hangover the next day.
Oh, yeah.
If you just immediately got hot,
yeah.
you're like, I'm fucked tomorrow.
For me, it's the headache starts early. It starts in the back of the skull. That's where I feel the hangover.
No.
Yeah. But anyway, I told Drew a little bit before the podcast, but I found a video that I wanted to get your guys' take on, being that you're football fans.
I retired this season, actually. As a football
Ready,
fan.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This message is for CBS and the NFL. If you're not the CBS or NFL, scroll the hell on.
Now I know we're not CBS or the NFL, but
Yeah, I gotta fucking piss off Ted.
with
She
an
said
opening
so.
like that, I had to keep watching. So
Hell on.
wait.
This is about the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's keep
Chiefs.
Taylor Swift to a minimum. This isn't
Agreed.
the Eras Tour, which I watched last night. 49ers game. Yes, I'm a Swiftie, I admit. But this is about the Bills. I'm a Bills fan. Bills Mafia. This isn't Taylor Swift. You're not going to show Josh Allen at an Eras Tour video, are you?
Are
Or
you?
Travis
Hear, hear.
Kelce? No. Or Patrick Mahomes. I'd lose my shit. If I wasn't close with me, you'd show Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Now knock it off.
I agree with her.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I
Sure,
could
one-
not agree more with that statement. You think there's a video of her anywhere jumping through like a fucking one of those folding tables? I'd watch
We
that.
get
too.
her.
Maybe.
We get her on the podcast, Ted.
I mean, I could try to
Reach out.
Try to reach out. Yeah.
Reach out.
Wow.
So, what do you think? Did they show too much Taylor Swift at the game, or?
They
Like
always
they
do.
only that's like the default. Like Kansas City, it's like we're cutting to commercial break. Here's Taylor Swift in the box. It's like,
Dude, the guys on Pardon My Take said that Travis Kelce was trolling DeMar Hamlin when he did the heart to Taylor
Yeah, I
Swift.
saw that shit. It was great. Did you see
I was like,
fucking
whoa,
Chris
that's
Jones?
bold.
You see Chris Jones in the game? He's just standing there like, it's so good. They're throwing snowballs at him.
He is
fucking
insane.
Double bird is
He
so
is
good.
insane. Yeah, he is good, but
That was
he's
so
out of his
good.
fucking
of
mind.
Of all the fields to have that happen at, they're like, I think it was like middle of the season, like December-ish. They said, if you throw a snowball, we'll arrest you. And what do the fans do? They respond by just chucking more snow onto the
Can't arrest
field.
us all.
You kidding? Yeah,
That
and
or
46
dildos.
Miller Lights. I'm gonna throw a fucking snowball.
I wish we'd seen fucking some more dildos thrown on the field.
Do you guys remember the Patriots snow game? The iconic photo is Brewski pick six, then the snow's going everywhere.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that?
Miami, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that was literally just punting back and forth that game. We drove down in the blizzard. There was no one there, like maybe 10,000 people tops at Gillette. And I was filling a popcorn container. If anyone was wondering, I'm an asshole in recovery. I was filling a popcorn container, sort of like you would with sand at the beach and the little block things, to make snowballs yay big. And we were on the balcony, and I was just throwing them off. And the people were like, so it's like a drunk, like psycho Patriots fan looking up and being like, I'm going to come up there and beat the shit out of you. And it's like, that's like a 25-minute jog to get up the fucking, that thing on the end of the Patriots Stadium where you have to go. They're not going to let you in
You'll
the
be exhausted when you get
accessibility
here, bud.
elevator. You puking on yourself. Yeah, that was great. Good times. Terrible football games, but where is Roger?
All right. Moral of the story is Sherb agrees with our friend here. Less Taylor
Yep.
Swift.
Commonality. If I never see Taylor Swift again, I'll be the happiest man alive. I couldn't care less to see her ever again.
Well, don't hold your
Yeah, I
breath.
know it's a
for that.
popular opinion. I know,
Yeah.
I won't.
She's the
I
first.
don't know if I could pick her out of a lineup.
What?
That's a lie. That's just a lie.
I actually
is
had this
a lie.
conversation with Jenna a while back because she's like, she's so amazing. She's Times Magazine's like person of the year. And I'm like, go look the last 25 years. It's like Vladimir Putin and like it's a bunch of other like horrible
Jeffrey
people.
Dahmer.
Yeah.
Has Taylor Swift invaded any countries?
I think so. She's invaded ours. She's
Is she the
100% invaded ours.
first? Is she the first like actual diva of the social media era though?
Can't be.
Like who?
Diva.
Because the most recent one that I can think of is Britney Spears, but that wasn't really.
He's a little. That was
Like-
pre-social media. Yeah.
Yeah, like she's the first person that is being fucking beamed into everyone's eyeballs on Earth all of the fucking time, as far as I can tell from that perspective. Because like those like mega stars, like the bigger band, it used to be bands back in the day, and then it turned into people. Like
Maybe Lady Gaga.
she,
Yeah. Maybe Lady
Probably
Gaga.
not as much as Taylor Swift, but
not the
similar.
same.
She's not as
No.
popular, that's for sure. I don't know, Drew. I wouldn't say
K?
everybody's eyes because I just showed you an example of what my eyes see most days. I'm not really getting fed much for Taylor Swift in my algorithms.
Why?
Listen,
You're probably
if I'm-
right, Sherb, as Kim.
If I'm watching
Kim
football,
K.
K?
That's she's not a
not a diva though.
traditional
That's not what I meant.
performer.
Yeah, no, I'm aware there are plenty of.
She's a
She
performer.
performs just on different kinds of videos.
Okay, Hunter, what's your live chat?
Saw this
She's an
video.
I
the
don't think
other
I
day.
can. I don't think I can
Grow
top
up.
that.
She's an actress.
Here's a question for the group: What is the best sandwich chain?
Ooh,
the
are we
fuck is
talking
going on my
national
collarbone?
chain?
Whatever you want. We were talking about. It wasn't the podcast, right, Ted? When you were talking about how you used to work at Blimpie.
Jimmy John's.
No, that was during a meeting.
That was just in the meeting earlier this week. Yeah. And so I went to Jersey Mike's two nights ago, Saturday
No
night.
free ads.
What'd you get?
Hashtag sponsor us.
Original Italian giant.
I get that roast beef one. It's fucking.
What's an
So
Italian
fucking-
giant?
They're so fucking good.
That's
It's
one of their
me,
sandwich
dog.
sizes.
The
Right
original
here.
Italian giant?
I'm right
Drew's
here.
biased because he
Yes,
married
Hunter.
into the
Come on
Subway
now.
empire, so he's gonna say something.
Oh, that place. She fucking. My wife hates that place so much. I think
used to
she
fucking
like wakes
love
up in the middle of the
Subway.
night and can smell the bread.
I like
It gets
Jersey.
like baked into you.
I like Jersey Mike's because like we have it up here, but I don't know. I'm a big Jimmy John's fan. Jimmy John's is the shit.
When I was at semifinals this last year, right? We were together, Ted. I
Yes.
ordered Jimmy John's and they didn't fucking deliver it.
Yeah, that's right. That's a
place
I
sucks.
ordered
just
Jimmy
ate it,
John's
bro.
on DoorDash
I just
at
ate
like
it and told you
9
it was
p.m.
gone.
and they just didn't deliver it.
Those
I like
tacos
waited
were
till
pretty
10
good,
and it
though, that
was
we
like
got, right?
5 minutes away, 5 minutes away. And then it just kind of like disappeared. And I looked outside and there was no
fucking ate it.
sandwich. I was like, great. Guess I'm not eating dinner tonight. Just went to sleep.
Sandwich chain. Damn.
You guys remember
That's tough.
Henry VIII?
Blimpie got me thinking a little bit, but like
I haven't shit my pants in 13 years. That's not true. I haven't shit my pants
definitely
because
not
of
true.
bread in 13 years.
this morning.
You have an answer, Sherb?
I mean, I really like Jersey Mike's. I just don't think it's fun to say the same answer. But the places I go to
We got,
recently,
like-
that's like number one.
Like D'Angelo's, like I don't know if people like
Dude.
The number 9 is
D'Angelo's.
pretty solid. The number 9 at D'Angelo's,
like
is pretty
the
good.
fucking chopped chicken or chopped steak. They do it on the griddle there. That's
yeah.
definitely more up my alley than I'm not really a traditional. Is the subs that you order from Jersey Mike's cold?
Yeah, they both.
You can get
I ain't
either,
into
but
that
like
shit.
Cold subs?
Yeah, I'm not into that. It's not my vibe.
they slice
I like
the
a
processed
fucking-
meat
huh?
right in front of you.
I always
I
ate
like
cold
a
subs.
fucking.
Couldn't afford the heat.
I mean, maybe
Put it on the radiator.
My privilege was we had paper towels, and I wrapped my sandwich in a paper towel,
Put it
put
in the
water
microwave?
on it, and put it in the microwave.
Yeah,
The-
I had the same experience.
The Crandall family special was bulky roll, a lot of roast beef, American cheese, and KC Masterpiece barbecue sauce. That was the fucking.
Casey
Oh, yeah.
masterpiece. Splurging.
Oh yeah. We didn't fuck
That's
around.
good. We grew up on a lot of Subway. I had a lot of Subway as a kid. My dad's like, this place is healthy. So we ate a lot of it.
I-
It's healthy
a lot of
because they give you a
Subway.
sandwich with 300 calories, and you're supposed to eat 1,000.
Hey, eating a loaf of bread for lunch is pretty healthy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So Ted definitely knows about this, and maybe Sherb a little bit. The ADD rabbit hole, the way that you can start somewhere and get obsessed with something and then end up in some very different places. So I've been. This happened to be. So I'm rereading a book. It's not necessarily like directly about Buddhism, but it's built around that idea and explaining why it's helpful and it works from like a meditation and lifestyle standpoint and stuff. So that got me back into evolutionary psychology, biology, which got me back into some of the like. Eating stuff surrounding, like when we used to do the Misfit Project episodes and we would talk about intermittent fasting, there was always the like tease of the actual research on this is circadian fasting, where you would eat while the sun is up basically, and then you'd fucking go to bed, whatever. And then we would say, well, that's not realistic, so don't do that. Just do the exact opposite of what the research says to do. So I get into that. And then that took me, so we've got like the diet and the evolutionary biology path, but then there's also the like meditation thing connected to HRV. And I've gotten down more of the path on like, how do I actually increase my HRV? What science is there? Not like theoretically, like, trying to stimulate sympathetic, parasympathetic, like that sort of thing. And have gotten... So like 2018 Drew would be very upset, but I've eaten breakfast quite a bit here in the last few weeks. But like I'm talking get up in the morning and eat breakfast. And I've been complaining to Hunter that I can't weigh and measure my food because I'm so hungry at night. And he's like, eat breakfast. It will help. And I'm like, okay, I'll eat breakfast. But by breakfast, I mean I'll eat lunch at noon and then second lunch at 2 p.m. That didn't work. I've been eating like breakfast, and it actually does help. I can split my numbers up into close to 3 even meals And while I definitely want more food at night, if I wait the 30 minutes afterwards, it's not really that bad.
Would this be psychosomatic? But I feel like when I eat breakfast, like if I eat breakfast early in the day, pre 10 a.m., I get way more hungry at lunchtime. If I don't eat in the morning,
What is your breakfast?
I don't fucking know.
usually?
Eggs, some eggs, 2 eggs.
Fucking eggs?
Maybe
Gross.
I don't know. I don't have like a regular breakfast.
eat
I'm just
chicken
saying
eggs.
when I eat in the morning, by the time lunch rolls around, I'm way more hungry than if I didn't eat in the morning.
But if you
eat
at
2 eggs, that's 140 calories, Ted. So that's
Thank you, Hunter.
That's not breakfast. Well, it's like what you're
is
like.
actually
I didn't
exactly
eat anything.
140
Why am I
calories.
hungry? It's like
Yes.
No, I'm saying if
I'm definitely-
I'm less hungry than if I do eat.
What about at dinner though? Like if you ate, let's say you ate at
All bets are off at dinner.
9 and noon and 5 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
I know your day is shifted a bit
Yeah. A little bit.
comparatively.
Yeah.
Anyways, the going down that rabbit hole, and sleep is improving. So that's one of the things that they talk about a lot with HRV is give your body like enough time to truly digest all of your food. And so it's no eating, no drinking alcohol, whatever. It's I think the suggestion is close to three full hours before bed, not doing any of that stuff. And the reason it's top of mind
3 minutes before bed.
the reason it's top of
what do you
mind
mean
for
that bag
me
of smart food in bed's bad?
is
Bro, I'll go for
we
some smart
did
food right
a very special workout at Misfit in Portland yesterday, and there is nothing that fucks with both my hunger and my sleep and my HRV more than sprint workouts. Those, it's weird, right? Because I'm not burning way more calories, right? I could do a longer endurance piece and truly burn whatever 700-800 extra calories, and it doesn't do the same thing to me as revving my engine up like that. So it sort of just tells you that you're burning a higher amount of calories for longer afterwards while your body's coming back down to it. I was starving at dinner time and ate my normal, like right now, meals are between 900 and 1,000 calories. And when I got done eating it, I was picking the individual piece of rice off the bowl and trying to scoop the salsa out with my finger. But then 30 minutes later, not hungry, great sleep score, and my best HRV score of the week, when normally I would be 20 or 30 points down on that. So going to bed and waking up at the same time basically every day, and then shifting my eating to closer to the time that the sun is out has actually made a difference. And I'm only 3 weeks into the experiment with a little bit of time off with being at Wadapalooza. But it is a very interesting kind of world and landscape of trying to up that number. And I felt like I wanted to go find the research on things that made a measurable change in a cohort of people versus I know personally overtraining, under recovering, vice versa, getting enough calories, those things, so sleep, X amount of hours, whatever. I am finding that the the sleep and wake time is correlating better to my HRV than total hours. If I sleep longer, my longer to get myself to wake up later, my HRV is lower than if I just get up and continue to do that. So
Do you get
interesting
up,
stuff.
Do you get up based upon some sort of sleep tracker that wakes you in the lightest part of your sleep? Or is it just an alarm that gets you up at this time of day?
No, dude, the suggestion from the data is especially the wake time. It's wake up at the exact same time every single day. Yeah. Wake up at the same time every single day. And sleep time is secondarily it's, whatever. The best that you can do is wake up at the same time every day. And the second best thing that you can do is go to sleep at the same time every day. But obviously what do they call it, Sure, with the parenting? It's revenge sleep deprivation. You don't get any free time for yourself ever.
I forget what it's
so then
called.
9 p.m. rolls around and you're it's my life. I'll make myself feel shittier for tomorrow so I can be on
dude.
my phone for an extra 30 minutes.
Every fucking night I have that battle with myself where I'm like, the kids go down, both kids are in bed usually by 8:15. I get downstairs and I'm like, I should go to bed in the next 30 minutes so I have the best possible sleep performance that I could have and feel the best I could next day. But I need fucking an hour of my own time. And next thing I know, it's like 9:15. I'm like, all I did was just fuck myself. And I watched some stupid ass show on Netflix. And I'm literally going to feel horrible tomorrow, where I could have felt a lot better if I had just gone to bed and like read, because that's kind of our normal deal now is whatever we do in the evening, as soon as that's over, it's in bed, read for, 10 to 20 minutes, basically kind of have that rule of like 10 pages a night, regardless of how I'm feeling, read those 10 pages and go to sleep. And it's like, what the fuck did I gain from watching that show I could have watched on the weekend when I actually have that free time? Kids are napping or whatever, but it is that like, this is my time. I've had everybody control my day all the way up to this point, and this is the fucking hour of my own time. And it's honestly,
I have a reminder set to put my phone away every night at 7:30 p.m. And put my phone away means like put it on do not disturb and out of reach, so I don't get the fucking like
temptation.
My head twitches and I'm like, need to open Instagram 6 times and I don't care what's on it and I don't want to look at it, but I'm gonna do it. So I will lay down somewhere to watch a show and put my phone completely out of reach, and like I'm allowed to like look at it again if I get like a text or something like that, but I try to stay off of that shit, and that's super helpful.
Yeah, it's so weird how it's a bad choice to try to do it, but you fucking just want to do it anyways because goddamn.
Well,
like,
so
this is the
that's
first time. Yeah.
in the in the book that I'm reading just talks about the like tricks that are being played on you by your evolutionary psychology, and like know that those things exist and just don't fucking let them happen.
I don't know if you mentioned the title.
I'm not gonna, well, I can say what the book is, but I don't want to recommend it yet until I'm done reading it.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it's called
on.
Why Buddhism is True.
Oh, I've read that. And by
Yes.
read, I mean I listened to it on a flight. It's interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So little N=1 experiment, getting back into that whole world of food and sleep and all that. And it's cool to be able to rediscover things and retry things and figure all that shit out. Hunter, before we move on, are you okay from yesterday? I was very happy with the state of your being after that workout.
Yeah, I mean, I tried hard, like, to be clear there, but I was under fueled for sure going into that. I had probably 30
Tell me what your strategy
grams
was
of
to start the
carbs
workout.
all day before that workout. So a couple of like typical breakfast, and then I went home, did a little bit of work from home, but lunch was essentially one large piece of meat, 0 carbs, for no other reason than that was what was convenient. And so after about 12 seconds of sprinting on the rower, it was just like, well, man, I hope you're fat adapted, guy, because you're about to enter the fucking danger zone. And I did, and it took me a while to recover. And then I got warm. I went into the sauna. That helped maybe a tiny bit. And then I got
0.1%?
cold, and that made me miserable again. And
Did that help a little, the sauna? I was in there for I took 30 minutes. I was in there for a long fucking time.
I did 20 minutes. I felt mostly better by the time, it was an hour between me finishing that workout. I did not do the overhead squats that were in class afterward. I was
PVC
in
pipe
no place
max.
to squat more than a PVC pipe.
Yeah.
So it was probably like an hour though between, or maybe not. It was like probably 45 minutes between the end of the workout and when I got in the sauna. And I felt mostly fine getting into the sauna.
Yep.
Sauna might have helped a little bit. I don't know that it was, I think it was just more time had passed and I was drinking water and stuff. But yeah, did that. And
Yeah,
then
there was something special about the going back to the rower after the bike.
Yeah.
Like that was different. Like you don't, I personally don't really fuck my legs up that often on rowing. Like I don't really feel the same sort of like fatigue.
What was the workout?
It was 250s and 250 meter sprints on the row, 500 meter sprint on the bike. And you got a little bit of rest in between and then a decent chunk of rest after the bike itself before you started another round. And like the opening row is a bit of a freebie because you're not going to ruin you're not going to like try to set the world record for the 250. and then the bike is really bad, but like it always is. And you get back on the rower and there's something about the last bit of leg extension where you like flex your quad. It's like every single one you're like, holy shit. I don't know if I can
Localized
start
fatigue.
I gotta
just
like
adds
throw
up.
my back and like really get my midline and my upper body into this, or else I'm not staying anywhere near 130.
It's such a weird combination of. I was talking
is.
with Kyle, and we got a few. I know Kyle's probably listening to this, but a lot of members were just like, "That's the worst I've ever felt." Just like,
Kyle said that.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
I said, yeah, it was just a different kind. Like it's been a while since I can say I've done like that was the worst workout I've ever done. It was definitely haven't felt like that in a long time, and it was just such a weird, like way more localized muscle fatigue. Like I was breathing hard, but like you look down at your heart rate and it's just like nice zone 2 session, idiot. It's like, fuck, I'm in zone 14. My legs are in zone 14. But yeah, it's such a weird pump, and then to get back and like then the row, like just the cumulative like buildup of the acidity in your blood is just like my biceps hurt after the row, my legs hurt after the bike, my legs aren't fully recovered on the row, and then my biceps and my legs hurt on the row, and then my legs really hurt on the bike, and it was just this really nice, like increasingly painful thing that got progressively worse both during and after the workout.
My favorite description of the workout yesterday, coaching 5 p.m. is Palmer walks over to me after, I don't know, probably the second row before the third bike, and he was like, "You should go check on Will. He's gone nonverbal." I was like, Jesus Christ. I think he's okay. Go check on him. I think he's gone. He's nonverbal. His eyes are all screwy. It's like this fucking guy from Mr. Deeds, his eyes looking in 3 different directions.
Those are my favorite days for a couple of reasons, because we program them like they get rotated into the cardio day at about probably the frequency that they should. But it's not so frequent that we might have there might be a handful of new people at the gym, like someone who's either come from a different gym, they just moved here, they switched gyms, or maybe they're a beginner, and they've just started jumping into classes. And like anybody who's coached a CrossFit class, like one of these real true, like I want you to light your hair on fire and see if you can fucking make it to the water bucket before you die sort of days. And you can tell what athletes have never ever been pushed to go there because
I love that shit.
Their programming never called for it, or when they did, they always like, it's like I compare it. It's like the high intensity Peloton face. It's like when you see people who like get on a Peloton and they're all scrunched up, and you can see them kind of like they're driving a go-kart, and it's like, yeah, I'm trying hard, and it's like no, you're not. Like you're trying kind of hard. Like you don't know, and it's literally, so for a lot of people, it's like I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know how to go that hard, and then with the appropriate instructions and atmosphere,
everyone
go
gets
to
to
a place
play in
they've
something
never
like
gone
that.
before.
Everyone gets to play in a workout like that, which is why it's so valuable. Like there's no skill element there for like preventing you from going as hard as you need to go. But I agree with you. It was fun to watch. We have a decent amount of new transplants at the gym from local gyms around us or have moved to the Portland area that have like, my CrossFit gyms never made me do that before. They never do intervals. It's fucking 30-minute AMRAPs and EMOMs and shit. And you just see their face when they do that. And they're like I was talking to Chris and Steph this morning. They're like, what was that yesterday? I'm like, that's our gym. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's your fitness.
We were working on the linear progression version of the assault bike sprints however many years ago, and I was like testing out like basically 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps, but put into that world with linear progression. So like the 5 rounder was you start at 10 seconds, then if you can maintain it, the next time you do it, it's 11, 12, whatever. And Hunter and I were like, it was either the 4x20 or the 3x25, and I convinced him to do it with me because I kept trying to get people to test it, and they were like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. Send me the sheet.
939.
And then no one filled it out. And we were doing them, and I remember we had one more to go, and Hunter was having a tough time straightening his legs, and he yells out, "Why does it keep getting worse?" He wasn't biking, but he's like, "My legs hurt more and more and more from not biking," because we were doing the full 5 to 7 minutes rest, and I just remember you yelling that so loud from across the gym. Why does it keep getting worse?
No, we should have rested 2 minutes between rounds. It wouldn't have been my legs would have felt more normal.
Those are
the
the
longer I
same
rested,
workouts.
I was supposed to feel better, and I was feeling worse.
Yeah, it's funny. The people think they do their 20 minutes of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. That's not power output work. That's not what that is. And so many people do that sort of work and won't take the time to rest to actually increase power output. Good stuff.
Wait, you want me to try really hard?
And proof that we might know what we're talking about, although taking credit for someone else's work isn't exactly what we're trying to do here. But we had the first woman break the floor for the gold standard cube test on the rower. Very first person to do so.
Really?
I tried to get a photo. The rower does not show the calories based on how it was set up and what monitor date it is. It shows the meters, it shows the calories per hour, but McKenna got 81, 80, 80, 80 for a score of 321 calories on the rower on the cube test, which is she's the very first person to do that. I am a very big believer in making sure, she's one of my remote clients, in making sure that a strength remains a strength, and that if you get the opportunity to show off and you can go take 100 points at an event, that needs to be fostered. So
She's
I think a
rolling
lot
at
of people
1200,
overcorrect.
about
Yeah.
1,200 cals an hour,
Yeah.
20 cals a minute. Fucking
That's
hell.
balling.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Go
impressive.
out there right now, guy. Let's see what you got. Strap
Dude,
on.
I can't do that.
I
That fucks me up. That's really hard.
I barely beat that. When we did the cube test in class, I did it on a rower. Was not in my peak physical approach to that workout, but that's fucking
It's a ball and
nuts.
score.
That's crazy.
That's a ball and
1,200
score.
cals per hour, especially.
I think she held a
she's 50 pounds lighter than me.
144 this morning on her 8x90 seconds.
Sick.
That shit
Me too.
sucks so bad. 8 by
Yep.
90 seconds was terrible.
Yeah.
James Higgins was out in the gym doing that the other day. You told me, Drew, and I could I finished up a workout and was just foam rolling, and all of a sudden I just heard the whoosh of the rower, and I actually James kind of has a distinct he's also got his breathing. He's a rower, so he knows what he's doing, but I could hear the fan and the vibration of the flywheel, and I could just sniff the air and be like, that
Well, he's
sounds
made
like
comments
it's
before
supposed to
of
be bad.
that's my wheelhouse. I don't need to do as much of that stuff because I'm good at it. And so I made it a point. Yeah, I made it a point to put it in there. And then he was 6 rounds in, and I walked out and I kind of looked at him and I was like, "That's a fucking stimulus, huh?" And he's like, "Yes, it is. Holy shit."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We also got a couple of other shout outs here. So if you've been following along with us talking about this and then in Discord, and she's posted a lot on Instagram, but Julia has been working really hard on her positioning in the squat, and she had hit a snatch PR at a competition, and she's
Well deserved.
one of the one of the things that is so important about it is she has now just crossed what I believe to be the barrier to entry to then become really strong within the movement itself. So that movement pattern now is there for her to go train it and do it more often and lift significantly more weight. But if you can't get into the positions that you're supposed to be able to, what are we talking
Do you want
about?
to give everyone that's listening context for how long she's been doing that? Because I'm
Holy shit.
trying to wrap my head around it. Just so everyone realizes that it's not like you asked her to go hold a bar over her head in the bottom of a squat for 5 days, and next thing you know, she's fucking PRing her snatch. How long do you think it's been?
It's been at least a year.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
mean,
at least a
way
year, not
way longer than that.
I think
was
almost
gonna
2,
say
right?
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It was whatever. What was the camp? I mean, it was.
So I've tortured her with front squats and overhead
I've tortured
squats
her.
at camps 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I
and
think it's at
Kyle
least
Kyle's
2,
her
maybe
remote
3
coach. Kyle
years.
would know
Yeah.
better about when the actual but she started a little kind of group trying to get them to do it, and I think her teammates in her group come and go, but she just kind of sticks with it, and that's one of those things that that will change everything for a lot of people. Like we have, there's someone that's pretty close to qualifying for semifinals this year, and he's struggling with his snatch, and it's for a very similar reason. And if I have a remote client that's dealing with the same thing, every single time they do a strength session that has squatting in it, it's a 5-minute barefoot hold before they squat, and then on every other day is 7 minutes of accumulating. So we go right after it. And it starts with just air squats, and then it moves on to front squats and overhead squats. Sherb's been through this, gotten himself into these positions and looks a lot more comfortable when he gets into it. So that's just one of those things where the things are really coming together for a lot of athletes. And it's just so cool to see someone put that amount of time and effort into something and then get the payoff for it. And then I know Kyle Moline got a big PR at a competition that he was at, and he's another person who's sort of on that bubble of quarterfinals to semifinals athlete, and he's been working with Kenzie on getting some of his 1 rep max numbers up. The competition that he did seemed super fucked up. Side tangent, they did a max
Tell us more.
max rep squat at 165 or something, and he got 109 reps. I don't know if someone wants to
Just
check that
unrack
in
it and go?
Discord, but it was something. I don't know. I didn't ask for details, but I was just like, what the fuck? He posted in Discord. It was a barbell only competition that I think maybe ended with a DT variation or something like that, but it was just maxes all the way through. And I swear he wrote that he got 109 reps of squats.
Damn. Well, that's fucked up. There was a time during the pandemic when everyone was at home where Trish from the gym reached out and she's like, can you give me something really hard to do at home? And I was like, yeah, do 100 back squats for time. Because she wanted to do weightlifting. And I was like, do 100 back squats for time. And she's like, what weight? I'm like, I don't know. Let's go DT weight. Let's go 105 pounds. She goes, how many sets should it be? I'm like, well, I don't know. You probably do 20 at a time. And she did 101 in a row. I mean, there's long pauses in there.
She's the only person at the gym that did the death march unbroken, and she was bored and wanted to know
She's fucking tough as
what she
nails.
could do next. Everyone's peeling themselves off the ground outside, and she just walks back in with the weight and drops it. Yeah, that's fine.
That's lovely. I love that.
Also want to shout out the 20-second front squat people. I loved that people were trying to
The
change the
9-minute
way.
front squat.
Yeah, people were trying to change the way that I wrote it when they knew better. Someone was like, 7x4, you mean the 4 has something to do with the 20 seconds, therefore it's just 7x1. And I was like, no. This is 7x4, 20-second back. So MFT did back squats for this, closer to the season now. Hatchet is doing front squat. I can tell you right now that if you have any of the mobility issues that we were talking about, this is the fucking magnifying glass on that. It is really gnarly to take that bar from the back rack to the front rack to be able to do that. And there were a lot of comments on Discord. For anybody that's wondering what it is, 5 seconds down, 5-second hold, 5 seconds up, 5-second hold at the top as well. So obviously very different to do that with a front squat than to do it with a back squat. But I've actually played around with these myself at what is a safe weight for someone like me, which is none. And mobility is your friend. Well, that would be hard. You wouldn't be able to hold that damn thing. That would suck. Have you guys done those?
No, I have not done that.
I had to modify them for one of my less mobile athletes because I was doing the math on. I told Sherb that one day. I was like I knew what you meant. I knew it was not 7x1. It was this is 20 seconds. This is 80 seconds of time under tension times 7. And I was I needed to modify that. That person could not have done that with an air squat, let alone a front squat or a back squat. But I have not.
Caroline wasn't happy with me when she was the tester for it, but she was able to do 50 to 60% on the back squat with it. Just You have to know. It's one of those things where I think a lot of people don't know their enemy. Like you just read the thing and you're like, all right, I'll go do these. He says it's possible at 50%. You don't realize how hard it's going to be, because it's weird to take 50% out of the rack and get your mind into a place where you're going to have to give 90 to 100% effort to be able to lift that weight. I think, and when it comes back around, people are going to really know what it is, and either work on their mobility or continue to not be able to use the prescribed percentages. But
I'm thinking
can
like
tell
95 pounds for that shit. Like if I was going to attempt that the first time, like 95 to 115 would be more than appropriate for that duration.
Yeah, I was thinking
and
like what weight I would do with a front squat.
It's like 33%.
Not much. Like
yeah. But again, that's the value in it. It's not about the weight. That's the thing that's fucking hard to understand, and it's hard to like be patient. I mean, the Julia thing is a great example of like, it doesn't feel like sitting in the bottom of an overhead squat with an empty bar at 35 pounds when your goal is to snatch 135 pounds is worth it. But then you PR and you understand that through the conditioning of doing something over and over and over again, you access range of motion you have before. Oh, look at that. I'm rewarded with the PR. It's like, you know, that patience goes a long ways.
Oops.
What?
Did you guys hear that?
No. Did you toot?
Oh, something crazy just played in my headphones. So we are headed into, when you're listening to this, it will be week 4 on the blog. And that means you are going to be transitioning from 8th gear rowing to 7th gear rowing. So everybody had the 8 by 90 seconds on, 4 minutes off.
Made that clap noise.
Yeah. And Sherb, your next.
There it is. That's what I needed.
Sherb, your next rowing session will be 5 by 66 calorie row. Rest 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And you can dial it back just a touch. So for you, think you can do that at 139?
Yeah, I was going to say 140 is kind of the ceiling I was thinking there. Bump it up 2 to 3 seconds on the average split. I think I could. But honestly, like it's not I know the rest does impact your ability to have output there, but for someone like myself, like when I did the 8 by 90 seconds, about 2.5 minutes later, I felt good enough. It's the duration I had to hold that for. That's the hard part for me, is like when you do that, when I was doing the 90-second pieces, I was thinking of it in 15-second chunks. So that's 6 15-second chunks to get through 90 seconds per round of that. So the first 15 seconds are a complete throwaway. It's like you're just getting the fan up to speed. So for the first 15 seconds, nothing's really happening. The next 15 seconds, you kind of still feel the same way. And then at about the, minute to 45-second mark, it's like, all right, now we're in the shit. And you have to stay tough from that point till about 15 seconds left. The last 15 seconds of those rounds was special because kind of like what you described with the C2 bike earlier, Hunter, on yesterday's class workout. Like you're trying as hard as you can and your body's just like, that's what you got, bud. Enjoy. So I think it's possible. Obviously it'll have to be done to figure out if it's, truly possible. But I still think around that 3.5, 4 minute rest period would allow me enough time to recover. I'm more of a slow twitch athlete when it comes to that stuff than a fast twitch. So I don't think I'll be someone that struggles to repeat, but won't know.
It is funny how you think about it though, because technically you're saying the same thing, but you're experiencing a different feeling. So like for me personally, I would not feel okay during the 4 minutes, but I have the same problem as you in that it's very challenging to hold X pace for 90 seconds. So it's really funny the difference between mentally what a fast twitch versus a slow twitch athlete goes through. Like the fast twitch athlete, as we build rounds, is just going to feel so shitty during the 4 minutes. And they're like, this doesn't even really feel like that much time. And for you, a couple minutes in, you feel good. But it's still that same, can I go in and bring this for 90 seconds again?
I found it's like 1 for 1. So however long the working window is, about that much time into my rest interval is when I start to feel better. So if I work for 90 seconds, about 90 seconds after I'm done, I'm starting to come back down the hill and be like, all right, I can fucking do that again. It's pretty close to that. Maybe it's a little bit skewed towards a little bit more of the rest time being like maybe closer to 2 minutes, but it's definitely not, I need the full 4 minutes before I feel normal again. Because every time I sat down, I was like...
But you need the full 4 minutes to average
to be able to do
138.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So I need that full time, but it's I'm feeling sorry for myself. I can't fucking do that. That's the first 90 seconds to 2 minutes after the work is done. And I'm like, all right, I can fucking do this again.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into questions from Brock on Discord, by the way, discord.gg/Misfit Athletics. Free community chat. You can interact with us. You can interact with the fellow Misfits in your community. We've got some kind of VIP moderator types in there that do a really good job of answering frequently asked questions and stuff like that. First question is from Brock. Brock wants to know why I am torturing them. At Misfit Coach, why are you torturing us? And I will say, that should say Misfit Coach, Sherb, Hunter, Kyle, why are you torturing us? What do you guys think? Why are we torturing them?
You guys ever seen this episode of Chappelle with Pop Copy? But fuck you, that's
Sure
why.
have.
Because it works. Because it works. You keep showing up.
That
keep doing it to you.
that like, there's the beginning of the phase like change in stimulus that people get, I think really gets brought into the equation here. And then we talked about how the cardio stimulus being there daily is a trick. So it's like, oh, cardio is the easiest one. Like lower intensity, like
Agreed.
make sure your
Worst
rounds
one.
are even.
Worst one.
And if you do it correctly, you're in a heaping pile of yourself by the end of it. So
I
it's a
would-
bit of a trap.
I would argue that they're torturing themselves. They choose to follow this shit.
yeah, very true. Very true. I think it makes it
just slow
easier
down.
if you can identify a villain.
Hunter.
They can commiserate together. Yeah, we're pretty sure it's Hunter.
Hunter's the villain. Look, he's dressed in all black. Come on.
Yep.
Villain.
It's true. All right. Brooks G. Mike, when is it time to recalibrate my gear matrix? Ted, this might be a clip worthy, but like for Discord.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the gears a bit because there's been quite a few questions recently. And then we'll obviously answer his question. So when is it time to recalibrate my gear matrix? And the answer to that is actually always. That's one of the main points of the gears matrix and why I stopped just using that for myself as a coach and started giving it to athletes and giving it to the community at large. We rely very heavily on monostructural conditioning to get people in better shape. And there's a level of monotony that is brought to what feels like these random distances and rest periods and calories, whereas you just sort of know what a 5x5 back squat at X percentage feels like. And like when you add 5 or 10, 15, 20 pounds to it, like how exciting that is. So the gears matrix gives you the opportunity to go in and fill out what paces you believe you can hold. The next step would be the paces that you hold to actually prove it. But then from there, if you take notes and you do update it, you can ask yourself on a given day, can I PR my 8th gear, 7th gear, 6th gear, 5th gear, and so on. So if you're going into these workouts and you know that the last time that you did it, you held a 149 and you're feeling pretty good today and you feel like maybe you've improved your efficiency or your zone 2 work is really starting to come together, that's when you can ask yourself, can I do a 148 today? Can I do a 147 today? And you're applying gamesmanship and sportsmanship and linear progression to something that, again, a lot of athletes feel like can be a little bit more on the monotonous side. And a lot of the questions recently have centered around some confusion on what gear am I using in a Metcon. And I want to be really clear that the gears matrix is for bitch work only in terms of we're giving you a prescription and then you're going to use it. Now, you need to know. So one way to think about it is if I'm doing, maybe the easiest translation would be in an interval, right? So you just notice that an interval actually matches a gear. You're like, okay, it's 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. That's gear, whatever. Then you look at the piece, and the piece has rowing and thrusters in it. So you're asking yourself, what would my pace be if there were no thrusters, if I'm going for 2 minutes? Okay, it's a 150. Does doing thrusters during this interval make it worse or easier? Like when I get back on the rower, because sometimes there are movements
Definitely
that
easier.
are easier, like toes to bar could be easier than having to stay on an assault bike or something like that. So push-ups. So you're asking yourself, will this make my row slow down or speed up? In this instance, very clearly, getting off of a rower and doing thrusters makes you feel a lot worse when you get back on that rower. So then what does that mean? Is it now a 152? Is it a 154? Is it a 156? That is your athlete IQ coming from the gears matrix and making its way into intervals. And then once you understand those, making its way into Metcons. That's how we're thinking about it. So you can use it as a point of reference, but it's going to have something to do with how you personally feel. If I have to do a 20-minute test on a machine, I know eventually, after doing it enough times, what's too fast and what's too slow. Like, this feels too easy. I'm not in that spot yet, or I'm 7 minutes in, my heart rate's at is broken into zone 5, and it's like, I think I got here potentially a little bit too early. I got to translate that feeling to a Metcon. I got to know that if 5 minutes into this 20-minute AMRAP in the open, that if I'm in zone 5 and I'm already feeling that way, it's a pretty good chance I went a little bit too hard. So again, you are recalibrating this matrix. You are using the information that you get. You are entering it back into it. You will have days where you cannot hold your paces, especially on the reach ones. And you have to ask yourself, why? Have I biased in this direction and now I actually need to update it and have it be slower? Did I not sleep very well last night? Hunter had 1 carb yesterday and decided to do machine sprints. Like, he's probably not going to say, now this is my baseline. He has a reason for why that's there, and why he felt that way. So really important to understand monostructural conditioning is where the gears matrix is. That's why it's only attached to bitch work. And then you need to use your athlete IQ to figure out when and where that can be applied to intervals, and then eventually the sport itself, rounds for time, AMRAPs, that kind of stuff.
The other thing that the matrix does is like, so let's say you do have a piece that's like your fourth gear, for example, like right in the middle, and that's the only piece that you've done at that pace, or at a pace. You have the result for what you did in that gear, but you don't have any other gear filled out. Like, that data point is also used to extrapolate the other ones, right? So if it's like, if I'm in fourth gear and I'm going to row at a 150, and next week a fifth gear workout pops up, and I recall like, oh, actually this fourth gear work that I did last week, I felt like I maybe left a little bit in the tank. I'm actually going to see if I can go at fifth gear at what would be a faster pace, or if I go down to third gear, so what would theoretically be a longer duration of work, maybe I say, I'm actually going to try to hold the same pace that I did in fourth gear for third gear. And now you've updated third gear accurately, and hopefully the next time you go back to the fourth gear, you're like, I remember that. Turns out like that day I didn't go as hard as I could have, and then I did that third gear piece, and now I have kind of a data point to use to infer what pace I should hold, even if I don't know exactly what it is. And like, you can do that, should be able to extrapolate that across all 8 gears in theory. Obviously, the farther apart you go, the less accurate you might be, but as you start to populate that spreadsheet more, like, if you've got 3 of the 6 gears, you can very easily crunch the numbers as far as like, it's about 2 or 3 seconds of difference between gears here. Okay, that gives me a pretty good idea of what I could do maybe for this 8th gear piece that I'm doing for the first time ever. And then another point, and this is maybe going a little bit farther. Do we have mixed machine gear pieces? Is there like 5th gear row ski? Is that happening now, or is that in the future?
Both.
Yeah, all I was going to say, so imagine that you have an interval where, imagine you have an interval that you're working, it's, 4 minutes on, or let's say, only because I know 8th gear off the top of my head, it's 90 seconds of work, 4 minutes of rest. And let's say we program it as 45 seconds on the rower and then immediately to 45 seconds on the ski erg. As an athlete, you need to think, what is my 90-second pace on that machine, not what is my 45-second pace on the machine. Because the other element of this is like we're training the modality, so the row, bike, ski, run, whatever it is, that specific thing, but maybe more importantly, we're training an energy system specifically. So a duration of work at a given output, that the duration correlates to the output, not necessarily directly to the machine itself. So when you start to mix machines, or when you start to think about how this applies to a Metcon, like, you have to realize the machine work that's being done is, one, to train your energy systems, and two, like, maybe even more so to train your energy systems than it is to get data on the rower itself. Because at the end of the day, like, the Open doesn't give a fuck what your 8th gear pace is. It gives a fuck that you can hold that you know what pace you're supposed to be holding, or what feeling you're supposed to have on the rower in, like Drew said, this 20-minute AMRAP.
Very true. Couple of notes that I'll add here. So we're looking at almost always between 2 and 3 seconds per 500 meter split on row and ski, and 1,000 meter split on the C2 bike. That's usually the fluctuation between gears. Fast twitch athletes sometimes have wider ranges because they don't have the aerobic functioning. Sherb's ranges are closer together. He's almost always about 2 seconds per split off. And then I find that people with what I would call an intermediate running base are about 15 seconds a mile per gear changing. So if third gear workout, you can run at a 7-minute pace. A fourth gear workout, you would be able to run at a 6:45 per mile pace. And that's super helpful to go in and fill that out for yourself, to give yourself, again, baseline. But then you're really going to notice when you go in and you wax an old one by, like, if it's the same gear and you can beat it by like 2 or 3 seconds, you've shifted all of those energy systems in a way that's super powerful. And then in terms of the actual strategy and programming, I won't spend too much time on this, but another reason why it was developed is because you spending the amount of time that it takes you to reach your version of what a zone 5 would be in all of those gears at different speeds, plus zone 2 work, has been the best way to move the needle for our top athletes, for our games athletes for a while now. We want you to perform an appropriate amount of work at a given speed, and then a different speed, and then a different speed, and then a different speed, all the way from 1 to 8. We've got that sort of low end to help you. We've got the power output, the high end to help you. But the more time that you spend going down through those gears and working at different paces is the best way that I have found through an absurd amount of trial and error over the last, God knows how many years it's been, 12 years, figuring out how to get this done. So just a little reminder that it's supposed to hurt from first gear to 8th gear, every single one of them.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. All right. So you guys are going to have to really lock yourself in on this one. There's no way that I can read a question this long and remember what I just said.
Fuck.
So you guys
Get it up
take
on the
notes
screen.
as I'm reading. Seamus, you've mixed in some of your self-deprecating stuff that we've talked about in DMs before, so we'll address that publicly. From Seamus, how do Hatchet athletes better self-assess and therefore prioritize and build their training program? There's plenty of variants and options within the program, but it's a struggle to implement them for myself. I know for a fact I do a better job for someone else as a coach, but I still struggle. As we head back to the Open over the past year, I've tried to strength bias myself and prioritize hitting the strength, even if that's all I do for the day. And I have gotten stronger, but I'm fairly certain my biggest weakness last year, a 1MX thruster, is unlikely to have moved, tisk tisk, based on how push press went in the last phase and how thrusters feel currently. I use Fitter in the Discord to try and figure out where I actually stand on things. I'm stronger than I actually think on some stuff. But bridging the gap between the data and prioritizing my training still falls short. Individual remote coaching is the best answer, but are there any tools or strategies to do better with this?
Can you repeat the first sentence?
Repeat the
Because
question.
It feels like, well, it feels like the initial question sounded like, how do
How
I
do I assess?
How do you
What
choose?
yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's how do I go into? I mean, it's an age-old question with our programming. How do you go in and choose what you should be doing when there are a bunch of options? How do Hatchet athletes better self-assess and therefore prioritize and build their training program?
I mean, I think the baseline there is figuring out based on the menu that you have in front of you, what do you perceive as your largest weakness? And then spend a phase addressing said weakness by not omitting that from your programming. If it shows up and you know it's something you're working on, you do it every single time, regardless of how you're going to perform relative to the rest of the field. If you're concerned about yourself in fucking November being the worst in the field at X movement, you're not focusing on what's actually valuable in the programming itself. It's getting better at something relative to you, not to anybody else, but relative to you. And then it's trial and error. I say you go into that and say, all right, I worked at it for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, however long. Did I improve? Great. Did I improve relative to the field? And that discouraging? You're looking at the wrong, sample size. Sample size is 1v1. It's you versus you. How were you 9 weeks ago and how are you now? I understand our sport compares people, and that's one of the reasons why it becomes such a focal point for so many athletes. It's how do I stack up versus everybody else? You have to realize that not everything for every athlete is going to improve at the same rate. Your rate of improvement is dictated by your own consistency, your genetics, your sleeping, your stress, your nutrition, and all you can do is every controllable that's within your own power to improve. You cannot control how the field improves relative to you. So you need to focus on you and focus on what you are doing for an entire phase versus like getting lost in the I'm not as fast as so-and-so, I'm not as strong as so-and-so. If you are improving phase after phase, year after year, with enough time and commitment, you will reach your potential, and that should be encouraging that you're improving continually. It might not be relative to everybody else, but it's you versus you in this.
So I'm looking at the question, and my analytical side is saying there's a lot of vagary in the question itself. So better self-assess and therefore prioritize building their training program. So what I'm reading here is a very specific question to you without a objective measure for success. So you've said, how do I better self-assess? Self-assess what? Assuming, and I guess in this question, it's a question of strength. Do you have objective metrics that say you alluded to the fact that I have gotten stronger. So the question is then well, how much stronger were you expecting to get? What is a realistic jump from where you were to where you wanted to be? Where do you want to be? Period. Is there a hey, I had this 1 rep max thruster last year and my goal for it is this year? Because you also suggested that I don't think that it got better, but you don't actually know. So for me, when athletes ask these sorts of questions, there are not enough specifics for that person for me to say whatever you've been doing or have not been doing has worked. So if you're and whenever you bring a question like this to a group, there has to be some level of specificity as to I've done this and it has yielded this result. So this isn't not trying to shit on Seamus here at all by any means. This is a pretty common thing that we get. But when you are asking these sorts of questions, there needs to be a baseline assessment of what is your actual goal? What is what is your individual metric for success as far as whether it's objective lifting numbers, whether it's how something feels? Because again, in the question you've alluded to, I'm fairly certain I've gotten stronger, but I'm fairly certain that my 1 rep max thruster is unlikely, not definitely, but unlikely to have moved. And then it's I use Fitter and Discord to try and figure out where I actually stand on things. But there's a bit of inconsistency here with what an athlete chooses to very specifically objectively track and what they perceive as what's going on. And then when you pair that up with what is your actual goal? What is the thing you actually want to move the needle on? And then what are you comparing that to? are you comparing? It's like, how do I better self-assess? It's like, well, compared to what? Like compared to you, compared to the leaderboard, compared to like your open standing last year. I think you need to, when you're thinking of these questions as an athlete, you need to actually be able to answer and put specifics to the things that you want to know the answer to. And a lot of times, like, that just shines a light on like, oh, I actually have gotten better at this. Or it's, wow, so I've done a shitload of the strength work and I've only increased my back squat 5 pounds. It's like, well, we can then dissect what exactly that means. Do you move poorly? Are there other things at play? If you're trying to get stronger, are you eating enough food? Are you sleeping well enough? All of those sorts of things start to come into play. But I think an important like lesson here is that you need to be very specific with like those sorts of things as far as how I've improved versus like perceived improvement. So I don't know that I actually answered the question rather than maybe told you to rephrase the question in a more specific way.
He alluded to the remote coaching thing. You took him through what would happen in a one-on-one conversation with a remote coach if you were to use that kind of terminology. There's a few things that pop out to me that I think could help a few people in general. And Seamus, you can obviously always DM me if you want to dig into some other stuff here. But if you are trying to, I don't actually know his number one goal. But if there's an insinuation with following this program that you're trying to get better at the sport of CrossFit, right? Fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
Man, 99.9% of athletes, if I was remote coaching them, would not have a strength only day in their program. General physical preparedness is the fucking pathway to that. And I know that he has a unique circumstance with being a parent and being a coach, and things don't always go to plan. But man, it would be really rare if someone was trying to get better at the sport that it would be like, okay, today you're doing 6x3 squat snatch. We're just not getting enough stimulus to create response, I don't think, within a day. But
again,
like that.
I guess maybe to go back to your question, I was kind of rereading the question when you asked. You said, like, is it fair to say that he wants to get better at the sport? Was that
I
your
mean, I would
question
just
to the group?
assume that his
well,
end
that
goal...
I mean, so that's important too, right? Like that's an assumption. Like that's an assumption by you because the question isn't specific enough. Whether it's because it just wasn't typed out that way, or the athlete doesn't know.
People, just so you know, if you want to get better, we are not ever suggesting a strength only day, especially in January.
But better than what? Better, like, is it? And if it's at the sport, then maybe you're correct. Is it like
when you were
out
reading
in the
you
gym?
Missed what I was saying for sure.
Okay, then maybe I
it's all built into that. I am trying to now address the community at large when it comes to some of these questions because it did get a decent amount of upvotes. One other thing that you guys can chime in on how your brain would want to see this. I would take a piece of paper every single week and I would draw the matrix of the days in the week and the pieces that I'm going to do. I wouldn't write all of them out, but I would write like in column 1, Monday I'm back squatting and Tuesday I'm snatching and Wednesday I'm doing power cleans and like Metcon, rowing interval, whatever it is. I would want to see that view of the week in my brain and then go, I need chest to bar pull-ups from the skill that's non-mandatory. I need this, this, and this. That's how I would personally choose those things. I think a lot of people make that decision in a vacuum. Exactly. It's a lot of shit that you need to cross out. And I find that if I'm taking the stuff from that program and I'm writing it down, I'm writing down what I'm going to do, I can turn the noise down on the other stuff. Because you know that if you're following Hatchet and you're only adding 4 extra pieces in a week, like you're going to be able to see which non-mandatory pieces make the most sense for you. It's much clearer for me in the way that I think personally to do it in that way than it is to try and continually just, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good on a day-to-day basis. So planning out your week to me is a really important thing. And the last thing that I'll say is I can tell you from a traditional power output sports background that when you need to drop the fucking hammer, you cannot be wishy-washy. Some of the vagueness that Hunter talked about, if that is applied to strength work, when you are, I don't think I've gotten any stronger, and then you try to do a 1 rep max thruster after a Metcon, you're fucked. You are absolutely fucked. Now, to be fair, you probably buried me on the Metcon, but the skill that I have will allow me to bury you on the thruster. Like you have to be ready for anything with that thruster. Like you have to be ready to be extremely aggressive and to think about your positioning, to think about your bracing, and to use whatever it is that gets you fired up. Could be your training partners. It could be music. It could be saying weird shit to yourself that I won't say on this podcast to get myself canceled or something. I don't know what words I'm allowed to say anymore. But you just say mean shit to yourself, basically, right? Whatever it is, your little thing that you do pre 1 rep max, you have to practice that when you're lifting heavy, and then you really got to bring it. But if you, again, if you tiptoe into a lift like that and you wonder what's going to happen, can I hit this today? It is not going to work. It is absolutely not going to work. Full fucking meathead mode, like old school, like football locker room vibe of like people screaming and doing that whole thing. That you have to find out your version of that and what that is. And just so you know, Seamus, this is a huge battle all the way up to the best athletes in the entire world. I have seen athletes that are the fittest people I've ever witnessed in person crumble when it's 1 rep max time. That's just that knowing where to go, where to take yourself mentally, and to bring that same level of intensity that you can stretch out over a 30-minute piece and cram it into whatever 3 seconds is a skill. It's something that you do need to get better at. So I just see a vibe within the message, within the question, that would not lend itself to improving 1 rep maxes. Like if the belief is not there, man, that might be the worst. That might be the worst place to have it, right? Like, because it just happens immediately, right? You can go through stages of grief in a Metcon, in a time trial or something like that, and deal with stuff. But if you don't believe you're going to do something and it's just a snap second, like, it's not good.
We talk about that in class. Like, if anytime it's a heavy squat day, we just did a 5x5 phase, and we're like, on the retest day, we're like, if you go into the barbell and you go, it's gonna be hard. Like, yeah, you're gonna fucking suck. Own that shit. Grab the bar, fucking rattle it in the cage, stomp on the floor, pick the fucking bar up and squat it 5 times. Shut the fuck up and do it. Like, sometimes
Sherp's like
need to hear
50
that.
feet away from me right now, and I can hear him screaming through the walls.
Shut the fuck up, get it done. But like,
I love
for
it.
real though, like if you don't go into it with that sort of intensity, like, I'm sorry, like, you can fucking wish all you want. Wish in one hand, shit in the other. See which one fills up first. Like, you have to fucking own that shit. You have to, or it's not gonna happen. Like, there are so many folks that have come through the doors in the years, like, have goals, and then they're just not willing to do the things that are necessary to reach those goals. Like, I'm sorry. Fucking put your Metcons on the shelf for a few weeks. Do some accessory and lifting. If that's really something you're trying to focus on, if that's a huge weakness, do that shit for a few weeks. Work on your mobility, hit your strength pieces, do accessory, and if you're really feeling like you're not getting enough, go do a couple of fucking bike rips. Fucking 5-10-second bike sprints. You get yourself a little bit of fitness there, and then see if you actually move the needle instead of just doing the things you like to do, trying a little bit on some of the fucking lifting pieces and accessories and go, this doesn't work. I've just seen it a million times. I've fucking seen this movie. I know how it's going to go. If you don't change your behavior, it's not going to get better. And I'm not calling Seamus out. I'm talking about to everybody who's ever walked through our doors and been like, hey, I can't do X. Here, I'm going to tell you the plan.
It's the Madden attribute sliders, right?
Yeah,
like
100%.
I'm talking about probably my highest one. And then if I wrote in and said, why can't I hold my paces on the rower? I feel sad every time I'm on a rower. I don't know what I should do about the rowing. I don't like it. You guys would be like, what the fuck is wrong with this
back
guy?
squat more. Definitely.
You have, back squat more. Sounds good. And one thing I do want to throw out there that could be very helpful in this situation, I know this is dependent on the person. Austin and Caroline both have remote coaching openings right now. It's very rare that we have remote coaching openings. Those two both have them, and they grew up in the school of Misfit and have competed at the CrossFit Games. And that is a very rare, how do I say it, perspective that they bring. It's one of the things that I talk to Kenzie Riley about quite a bit. Like, being educated on what we do from our side of the fence and also knowing exactly what it feels like to be out there on the floor in that moment is a level of intuition where, like, that's a pretty powerful Venn diagram to go through. So you can apply for remote coaching at misfitathletics.com. All right. This is a follow-up to the same question, and maybe we answered it, maybe we didn't. Also, make sure you guys pay attention. Again, my question is very similar, so I'm replying to keep it in the same thread. How do you know when to prioritize working on / learning a new skill versus solidifying ones that you have, assuming you have limited hours in the day? I take a few weeks to focus on learning new skills, but then I'm focused less on strength, metcons, refining other skills. So now I have a hodgepodge of things I can do, but not very well for very much volume.
I mean, we're generalists in this sport, but there are obviously a list of things that you do need to be good at if competing in CrossFit is your goal. So I guess the context of, like, what are your goals is probably where I want to start. Kind of like what Hunter said earlier, like, define your terms, figure out what's valuable to you and what you're trying to actually do. If your goal is to be fit and, like, do CrossFit for life, like, keep on keeping on. You're doing a good job. If your goal is to go to the CrossFit Games and you can't do chest to bar pull-ups, or your muscle ups aren't great, or you can't climb rope very well, like, there's your answer. So it's hard to give a direct answer without knowing more about the person, but hopefully I've kind of given you, like, a path A or path B, depending on kind of what your goals are.
My mind goes to leveling a little bit. Like, I really think about stages of, like, as you're progressing through the sport, what you should be getting better at this point in your career. And I think we can get wrapped up in pirouettes and the ramp and high rep muscle ups and things of that nature when your fundamental movement patterns aren't there. So if someone came to me and was really worried about a skill that was, for lack of a better term, above their pay grade, it's like, I really want to see your squatting. I want to see, your hinging patterns. I want to see your pressing patterns. I want to see actual handstands. I want to see the butterfly chin over bar pull up. Like, there are levels to these things that now are kind of a bit more present when you look at something like the Open. Like, to me, that would be like the level above doing what Sherb said. You're going to the affiliate class and you just get after it, and you're trying to be a healthier, more capable human being. That's fantastic. If we level up just one spot and we say, yeah, but I really care about my placement in the Open, go back and look at what they have you do in the Open. They have you do double unders, toes to bar, burpees, deadlift, power snatch. Are those movement patterns amazing? And if they're not, there's your answer. That's what you need to be working on. And the really cool thing is, GPP, you will end up showing up to your muscle up phase with better movement patterns, with more upper body strength, with more general physical preparedness. So I would make sure that you don't see any outliers. You don't see any, like, man, the double under crossover or the pullover, or any of these things that are maybe new and shiny, wall facing handstand push-ups. Like, I want someone to be walking on their hands for a little bit, to care more about strict handstand push-ups, things of that nature. So I don't know, feel free again. I don't think people know how to use the DM feature that well on Discord. It can be a little confusing.
I know I don't.
I use it for remote coaching, so I use it all day. But DM me if you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, just say, hey, like, these are the skills that I do have. These are the ones that I'm working on, and I can't help you with that. But I really do, for me, from a coaching standpoint, think about it from a leveling perspective. Like, what level is this person at? What are the baseline needs? Because, again, we've talked about this a bunch. I talk about it with my remote coaches all the time. There aren't that many movements that they ask you to do on a regular basis. As you level up, you got to be able to climb a rope. You got to be able to do bar muscle ups. You got to be able to do ring muscle ups. Like, the list isn't so long that we can't make sure we're good here, and then when we move up, go one at a time.
Yeah, I'll go even further down the like fundamentals rabbit hole. We'll have a class, we had a class with muscle ups, wall walking, and dumbbell snatches not that long ago, an affiliate class, and all I tried to do was remind athletes that their hollow and arch positioning is the most important thing that you can worry about in today's workout, because if your hollow body position is good, your wall walk's going to be fine. If you can go from a hollow to arch position, then you can theoretically do a really beautiful kip swing on the rings. And if you understand kind of the CrossFit, a little bit of the CrossFit methodology, and understand that functional movement is a core to extremity movement where we use our big movers first, we transfer energy through our midline, so having some midline strength and stability is critical, and then we use kind of the smaller movers to finish the rep. Like those things apply to 99.99% of movements. It's like, you want to be a better weightlifter? It's like, okay, let's make sure our feet are in the right spot, let's make sure your midline's tight, and like then we dial in the movement specific pattern. But like at baseline, it's like, is your setup correct? Which is almost identical across like the 20 lifts that we do. There are probably like 2 or 3 different setup positions when it comes to gymnastics movements. Like if you can do a hollow and arch position proficiently and you can stabilize your midline, we have a pretty good shot at going through all of the gymnastics movements. But there are a very small number of baseline positions that you need to be able to hit, be comfortable in, and be strong in. And if you're saying like, well, I struggle with my chest to bar pull-ups, or a XYZ gymnastics movement, it's going to be like, what is your baseline foundational movement pattern? And what we find is like, there are athletes who manage to get away with piss poor movement because they don't have either maybe like the midline strength, for example. And so they've figured out how to compensate around that, whether that's for a lift or a gymnastics movement.
I'm perfect.
And when it comes to skills, like the body awareness component, hollow and arch positioning, like those sorts of things, like find me a gymnastics movement aside from like pistols that doesn't necessitate all of those things. And if you can't get into those positions, it doesn't fucking matter what skills you do or don't have, because you're not going to be able to like up the ante. If you can't do a perfect kipping chin over bar pull up, like I already know what's going to happen on the rings. Like I know what's going to happen there. If you can't do a toes to bar without scooping, like I know what your chest to bar pull-ups and your muscle-ups are going to look like. So understanding that a lot of these skills have like very, very few fundamental components to them at their core, and then building from there, I think is a good place to start, along with what you guys, I won't just add on to what you guys said, but like, hey, affiliate athlete, like hollow and arch position. Okay, great. Now do a kip swing. Congratulations. You just did hollow and arch on the pull-up bar. Hey, do a hollow body hold and then an arch hold on the floor. Congratulations. Now do a hollow body hold with a wall walk. And it's the same fucking movement.
Everything distills down into a few like archetypal.
Exactly. Yeah. You break every single
positions.
CrossFit movement we do down into like its very basic category. And there's like 5, there's what? Is it 5?
I would just say it's like squat, hinge, press, hollow, arch. And then maybe
I was trying to think of what
like
the
maybe
what
6
the
or 7.
base. What are the 5? It's like 5 basic human movements. It's like squat, hinge, lunge, locomotion, and like rotation, something like that. But like, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a small list, and if you realize these things kind of are consistent across a lot of these movement patterns, like that's where you could start as your foundation. So if you're like, fuck, I can't figure this out, go some steps backwards and fix those things, and you'll quickly realize they have a direct application to that high skill movement you haven't figured out yet.
I was a little sad that you guys kept interrupting me, and I realized that I was on mute. No one interrupted me at all.
We knew you were on mute. We were just fucking with you.
The beautiful thing about taking the time to truly develop trust with your athletes is that when they come to you, once the trust is developed and they want the secret sauce on the muscle up or this thing or that thing, and you're like, squat holds, go kip on the rings, and then do, you know what I mean? Like, you go through these progressions, you can get them to buy into it because they know. They've been to the classes, they know how good the classes are, and those jerseys are up on the wall. So we kind of got it covered from like, you're going to get an amazing experience from in our beginners class, in the class, and then if you just like the idea that our like side gig is coaching CrossFit Games athletes, that kind of pulls you in. And that's one of those things where you really have to, like, if you're on your own, you can go back. Like, I've shared this video so many times with people on Discord and Instagram, but we just have the kip swings and then the kip swings into the knee bend and the knee bend with the hip extension that we shot with Sherb for the off-season phase last year. Like, that's what we ask people to do. That's what I ask people to do here. And some of them will commit to dangling around on the rings twice a week for, 6 weeks until they really get it. And then they can do muscle ups, and a lot of people don't. And I understand that that's more challenging without us walking out into the gym and having you do it. But like, that's where my mind goes when you guys talk about that stuff.
Can I add one small thing to that question? The super quick, you can when I think high skill, I generally think gymnastics movements. Like, can obviously include a barbell stuff in there as well, but like, you can also start to, if time is a limiting factor, like, there are a ton of those movements that can easily be mixed into a warm up without any like unnecessary extensive warm up. Like, if you're doing a math set, you're doing your 5 minutes on a machine, like, maybe it's the last minute of each 5-minute section, you get off your bike and you practice crossovers for a minute, or you get off your bike and you hop into a handstand hold in a hollow body position, or you do like work some kip swings. There are a lot of ways to like mix some of these foundational skills or like the actual skill itself into something like a warm up without needing to do any crazy like excessive warm up and stuff like that. You can do a lot of these building block movements as part of like your general warm up. Without adding much time to your training day.
Very true.
Get those reps in.
It's be true. There is a lot of buzz about the benefits of creatine for training. Fraser once said that he would stop taking it a week out from a comp to drop some water weight to feel better with gymnastics. What do you think is more important for competition performance? The benefits that creatine provides, or dropping a pound or two of water going into the comp? I'll be super nice about this. If you're not taking creatine daily, and I'm talking to everyone, athletes, it's not just athletes, the mental benefits are there and proven, then you're a silly goose.
Nice.
Yeah. That's the nice way to put it. I would guess that he probably said that earlier in his career, because he talked about packing weight on for competition and then basically in his mind making fun of people for wasting away and not being able to keep up towards the end.
Try to get heavier during the comp.
Yeah. Be very intrigued. Yeah. I mean, so from a scientific standpoint, you should not worry about water weight because water weight is a hydration level of like, you are at a much higher risk to tear musculature, to not recover, to not have your core temperature be able to go down for recovery. Like, hydrated muscle tissues is a feature, not a bug. Like, that is very good for your body and something that you would want to stay away from. Like, that's more of a bodybuilding thing. I know bodybuilders will, stop doing that and they take the like dandelion route and they feel like they're going to die. And all that good stuff. So I don't know if you guys have any comments on this. There's definitely something to strength to body weight ratio when it comes to gymnastics, but I would not be worrying about creatine. It's the number one researched beneficial supplement that we have out there, and it's like fucking cheap, which is awesome.
Fucking pound or two. Like, what are we talking about? You're not going to gain 15 pounds from taking creatine.
That was going to be my point. It's like
what the fuck? It's a pound.
Maybe he doesn't have experience with it. I'm not really sure, but you don't like.
It's not going to be absurd.
I weigh myself every single day, and I weigh and measure my food, and there's no fluctuation in my body weight when I take creatine and I weigh and measure my food. 0 pounds, actually.
yeah, that I my immediate thought was just like, if like there is no possible chance that you have extracted every single like benefit from your training, that now the one thing that you have to worry about is the 1 to 2 pounds of body weight that may or may not actually exist due to taking creatine. Like there's like 5 people on the planet that can be paying attention to that level of detail when it comes to performance in their training. And
It's
unless
probably
you're
not
gonna
even 5.
yeah, like I would say, yeah, not
0.5, one person.
And there's no. And
I
it's
still
not,
use steak knives. They're very
and maybe
safe. I think that's
Fraser's
probably the
fucking
correlation
trolling
I would draw.
everybody when he said
Psychopath.
that. But like you're, yeah, it's like Drew said that it is the most widely studied supplement in history. I think it's either that or whey protein, and it's been like that for fucking decades. And like the benefits, like the mental
Go to
benefits, it has good for
examine.com,
everyone.
type in creatine, and get to reading. And if you're a real nerd, you need a subscription to that website. It's fantastic. Very good website.
I got a good
Yeah, if we're
anecdote.
talking about
Some-
dropping a pound or two of body of water weight, like that, then I'm either talking to an Olympian or we got something else we got other fish to fry.
I was teaching a Sweaty Saturday about a month ago, and someone came in and she was talking about getting her son a membership at the gym. And then she's like, yeah, he just wants the shortcuts. He wants to take creatine. He doesn't want to work out. And she's like, but I don't like him to take creatine. It's not safe for him. And I'm like, actually it is. She goes, actually it's not. I'm a nurse and I know creatine is bad for teenage boys. So then I sent her an article of like creatine dosage in like adolescent athletes and how valuable it is. I never heard back from her. I don't know why.
Yeah, now you're gonna get me fired up. That would be a rabbit hole that would this podcast would extend
I was like
over
trying
the
to bite
2
my
hour
cheek
mark.
while she was talking to me.
To
I was
make
like, you
to
don't
make
know
sure
what
we
you're
don't
talking about.
finish answering this question by dumping a bucket of shit on the asker, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Take creatine 5 grams a
for
day
you.
every day, or 3, whatever the not loading phase of creatine
I think 5
is.
grams.
Just take it. It's good for your fitness. It's good for your health. It's not going to make a difference.
Drew, did you ever do that fucking crazy loading where you take like 25 grams a day for like a week?
No,
Love that.
I would do 10. I would
Oh,
do
I did
10
25.
for.
I
I
had
don't
a
think
jeans
anyone.
tub where it had like 400 servings in it. That didn't work. Exactly.
I actually take more. There's some good research for the mental benefits. I think I basically just do like a heaping scoop, so it's probably closer to like 7 or 8 grams,
Yeah, I take
somewhere in
6 a
that
day.
range. But again, go to examine.com and type that in. That is a better place. I will end the podcast by shouting out the people who are going to be sent the free Misfit gear for listening past the ads in our coaching podcast. You're not going to be surprised by who the people are, but we have a mystery person, and based on the timestamp, you were the 5th person. But I'm going to have to send your shit to someone else if you don't respond to me. So we have Seamus, Julia, Dustin, and Ryan Marino. We also have at Say No to Man Buns.
Here.
Listen,
that Hunter?
they're douchey, but they're very convenient. When your hair's long, they're just convenient. It's just
I
how
can't
it
really
is.
Look at my fucking head. I got no hair on it.
I know. It'd be amazing if you had long hair. You look like
The fucking knot.
you look like Chris Lloyd from basically any movie he's in.
What would
So-
Sherb look like with a man bun?
Not good.
With that hairline,
I'll
it'd be
work on
awesome.
showing
Thanks.
It's not. Yeah, it looked like a cheesy lawyer from like a '90s movie.
I don't want that fake AI though. Sherb looking all burly with like a non-patchy beard. Like don't have like coffee shop Sherb.
Yeah, don't
come
clean
out.
him up for us.
Yeah, no.
Make him what he would.
AI should be
Homely
like gross,
Sherb.
gross man bun Sherb should be the prompt for AI.
Easy.
So
Take this man and put him in a man bun, but don't make him look any better than he does now.
say no to man buns. You have until Tuesday, January 30th to DM me back on Discord, or you can DM me on Instagram at Misfit Coach, and we will get you your gear sent out to you. Everyone else, I'll make sure I have your sizes and address, and you'll get a little Misfit gear swag. Do we have any final thoughts? It's kind of a meandering
Did we forget
journey.
percentage work again this phase? This podcast?
Well, we didn't forget it. We're an hour and 40 in.
Yeah.
We ain't going longer.
Maybe next
Nice.
week.
On the next
be.
episode,
Next week's episode, we probably won't talk about percentage work.
We'll talk about it again, but we won't give
Yeah.
you any answers.
Very
We'll
true.
mention it.
Anything you want to finish up with, gents?
man.
No.
Happy 7th gear row. I think it's tomorrow when this gets released. It'll be tomorrow. 5x66/60. Rest 3.5 minutes.
Easy. When's it get hard? That's not enough.
Yeah, I had plenty of that yesterday. That doesn't look hard. Is that it? Is that all?
Is that it? Is that everything?
Yeah, that's it.
Sure, but I want to see a 139 out of you on that.
All right.
I don't know what that
I'll
is in
report
counts
back.
per hour. Yeah, you report back.
139, it's like a 15, a little over 15, because 140 is a 1500.
Right.
So it's just over 1500, which is gross.
That sounds dangerous.
Sounds unsafe.
Did we do it?
We did it.
I think we did it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Misfit Podcast, and thank you to our show sponsors, sharpentheaxeco.com. Use your favorite athlete code, properfuel.co. Use the code word Misfit, misfitathletics.com for your individual programming needs, teammisfit.com for your affiliate programming needs. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye-bye.